Thank you all, everyone, for coming. My name is Gretchen Couchin. I am the Vice President of our Business Development here at Neighborhood Home. We appreciate you all coming to our community events. We do these once a month just to try to bring in some different topics that our community might be interested in. And one that we kept hearing about was this mindful meditation. So we are so excited to have Miss Bunny Nash here with us today. Just wanted to remind everybody to turn off your cell phones. If you need to use the restroom, they're right out this door. They're your first little hallway on your left. And that's where the restrooms are. Apologize for the parking. We have several events going on the campus today, so we could definitely use more parking, but it is what it is. But thank you all so much for coming. Just one quick note, we are not having an event in April. It just is kind of a crazy month, so we are gonna not have one next month, but since we have all of your contact information, we will make sure that we'll send you out the information for May. So thanks again for being here, and we'll get started.
Well, thank you so much for having me here today. I get to talk a little bit about some things that I'm passionate about, mindfulness and the science of stress and mindfulness in relation to that. Just to let you know, I was invited here through contact with the Earth and Spirit Center, which is sharing the parking lot right across the way if you're not familiar with the Earth and Spirit Center. It's a non-profit organization devoted to mindfulness, social justice, earth justice, just community of the earth. And I get to teach some classes there. I actually walked over from the parking lot because I taught a Qigong class, meditation and motion class, which is sort of something that I'm really loving today. We'll do a little bit of that later on today. I'd like to share how I came to mindfulness and meditation. I think I dabbled in meditation like a lot of us do throughout our life, and sometimes it was a nice thing, but I never really became a real practitioner of it. And then in my real life job, I have been a teacher, a counselor, an administrator, mostly working with students and families of children that have emotional and behavioral challenges, kids that are not regulated, families that are not regulated. And in helping them navigate life and learn how to manage themselves, it became obvious that it wasn't something that you could do to somebody else. We began to learn about the science behind dysregulation and stress and behavior, and conversely the science about resilience and mindfulness, and they're just intertwined. And in learning about that, these practices began to be important in the lives of the students that I worked with. But they had to be something that were important to me and that I was living and doing myself first before I could ever possibly share with them. And so now it has not only become a practice that I use at work. I very much am able to enjoy the benefits of meditation, mindfulness in general, moving meditation, and a variety of things. I have one of the things that I do at the Earth and Spirit Center, I teach some Qigong, I teach some mindfulness classes, I facilitate the Mindful Aging Circle at the Earth and Spirit Center, which fits in very nicely with all the work that you're doing here. And in that circle, we talk about the difference between aging and elderly. We all age. We don't have a choice. We get older, we feel it, we know it, we see it. But how you age makes a lot of difference in how you live your life, and whether you can age in a way that is, I think, growing and learning throughout life. And this little book we use in our circle, the Sage's Tao Te Ching, there's a quote in the foreword that I really enjoy. And it's attributed to Confucius from 5,000 years ago, so we'll see about that. At 15, I was committed to learning. At 30, I took my rightful position. At 40, I was no longer totally perplexed. At 50, I began to understand the unfolding of my true nature. At 60, I was in harmony with contradictions and ambivalence. And at 70, at long last, I may follow my heart's desire without going astray. And that I get to be both an aging elder, and I'm also a caretaker in it's a picture of my mother, actually, on the screen. She's 94 at this time. This was about 5 years ago or so, in that picture. And she's sitting there with my little niece Chloe. And part of the reason that I included her on there is that mindfulness in my life has become not just a personal practice, but a practice that has really allowed me to be more present with my mom in her aging process, and to help her work through some of those things. About 10 years ago, when she was moving out of her home to live with my sister, and we got to get rid of everything, we got to go through things, and she would sit and she would freeze. Mm-hmm. And I would sit with her in the garage, and we would go through things. And finally one day she just looked at me and she said, "You're just so calm." And my sister, who she was moving in with, wasn't calm in the moment because there was a lot going on. But being able to share that in a way that helped her then be able to say, go through things, and yes, that's okay to go over there now. But she couldn't do that when she was frozen or worried or scared or not sure about things. And so we'll talk a lot about sharing our calm and pausing and being able to co-regulate with other people as we go through. And that, that is that mindfulness. It's all a piece of it. And I'll ask you today, how are you showing up? Just to tune into that for a moment. Are you ready to kick your heels up, literally or figuratively? Or are you just in a calm, quiet place, and it doesn't matter, but just tune in to where you are as we go through, and think about what we're talking about in terms of how this might apply to you and in your click to button. Ron, I love this thought: when you walk and eat and travel, be where you are. Otherwise, you will miss most of your life. And that sounds like such an easy thing to do. But I think this is really at the heart of mindfulness, is being present, being here in this moment. And that isn't typical of what we live in this life. It's go, 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 everything is fast-paced. How many times have I driven wherever I'm going and I get there and I have zero idea what I saw or did, or how many stoplights I had in between? Can I tell you the color of the house on the corner in my neighborhood that I drive by every day? Maybe, maybe not. I'd like to point out most of the pictures, I think almost all the pictures in here are pictures that I took. It's a little grainy, but it's a picture of the synchronous fireflies. I don't know if that's something that you're familiar with. It's an event, I was able to see them in North Carolina a number of years back. And they light up in harmony and rhythm and just this flowing, beautiful. And so it reminds me that to really take in those things in life, we need to be where our feet are, be where our mind is. This is one way. Thich Nhat Hanh, I don't know if you're familiar with him, he's a great Vietnamese Zen master. He says that mindfulness is kind of energy that helps us to be fully present in the here and now, aware of what's going on in our body, in our feelings, in our mind, and in the world, so that we can get in touch with the wonders of life that can nourish and heal us. I think that's a pretty way. When you all think of mindfulness, what comes to mind? Anything you know or wonder? Mm-hmm.
Quietness.
Quiet. Okay. Stillness.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think quieting my brain.
Beautiful. The monkey mind, that brain just going 100 miles an hour. So being mindful is calming.
I was going to say paying attention. Like when I'm being mindful, like I'm paying attention to my surroundings and.
Absolutely. Noticing, being aware. Awareness is at the core of mindfulness. Having the ability to be present enough and still enough and focused enough to notice things that are going on and just be aware of everything within you and outside of you. Any other things that you think of? One of the definitions that we often use when we're talking about mindfulness is that mindfulness is being present here and now with kindness and curiosity, and then making a choice to respond. And I think putting all of those things together can be really important. The being present here and now, just not on my to-do list, not on my health issues, not on what I've got to make for dinner. Being present in this moment, and doing that with kindness and curiosity. And I think that brings in non-judgmental. Mindfulness helps us. We don't have to like everything, but it helps us accept and just say, this is how it is. This is what it is. I'd like to point out that mindfulness and meditation do not minimize. They do not absolve all problems in the world. They just help us be in a state and a frame of mind and a frame of spirit that allows us to navigate and manage those things in a way that perhaps we couldn't do if we weren't being in that thing. I'd like to show a little, and mindfulness, to mention meditation is one piece of mindfulness. There are lots of ways to be mindful in the present moment. There are even lots of ways to meditate, but meditate is one way to be mindful and to practice mindfulness. So they're not, all meditation is mindful, not all mindfulness is meditation. And hopefully, if I don't ramble on too much, we'll do a short meditation at the end as well. But I'd like to show this little video. It's from the Breath Project, hence the information about the breath. But let me...
I'm 61 and today I'm switching from walking to Tai Chi. I hope it helps my joints. This is me after 28 days of Tai Chi.
We are humans. We think, we feel, we dream, and whether it's a life-changing decision or a passing thought, every single thing we experience occurs in our awareness. Our awareness is made up of our thoughts, emotions, and senses. It's like our own personal internet with an endless amount of content to explore. However, there's one thing we may not realize. Everything we click on, everything we think and do affects our quality of life. This means that positive thoughts and actions can produce satisfaction and well-being, while negative ones can lead to stress and unhappiness. To understand this better, let's explore what's going on in the factory of our mind. Now, it has been estimated that we have 60,000 thoughts every day. 60,000 moments bouncing between excitement, to-do lists, food, judgment, shoes, and love, just to name a few. These mind moments work like a chain reaction, with each one causing the next. So the thought, I'm hungry, can make us think of pizza, which reminds us we are on a diet, which then makes us angry. The thing is, this system never stops. And with such a massive amount of information constantly passing through us, it's like a crowded restaurant or train station, where it's so loud that we are unable to hear anything at all. And then, when the big trains roll through, such as concerns over finances, relationships, or the future, the result is often chronic stress and even depression. In fact, stress is the most common cause of illnesses, accounting for 2/3 of all doctor visits. But fortunately, there is a way to rise above the noise. It is called mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of observing the present moment of time. Simply noticing whatever we are experiencing or thinking right now, and now, and now. Through practicing mindfulness, also called mindfulness meditation, we gain some space between our thoughts and actions. This provides a uniquely restorative type of relaxation and activates parts of the brain responsible for positive emotional states. At first, being mindful of our thoughts can be a little tricky. So, just like muscles which are built up through exercise, one of the easiest and most effective ways to develop mindfulness is through paying attention to our breath. To breathe mindfully, focus on the physical sensation of the breath moving in and out of your body, noticing every moment of the inhale and the exhale. It has been shown that being mindful of the breath for as little as 5 minutes a day can decrease our stress, increase our attention span, and speed recovery times for those receiving medical care. In stressful times, the practice of observing a single breath mindfully can calm our nerves and give us the clarity needed to respond skillfully to life's challenges. Just a single breath at any given moment can change everything. In the second part of this video, we will guide you through
So, what are some things that stood out to you?
Being aware of your breathing for just 5 minutes can lower your stress. That's a
5
big one.
minutes. And that's something that I'll encourage us all to think about. You know, sometimes people get afraid of it, you know, I need to sit and meditate for 20 minutes, or I need, you know, most of us, many of us don't have always time to do those kinds of things. And I'm gonna say even less than 5 minutes, you know, and we'll talk later, 90 seconds is enough to really do a lot in terms of relieving the stress response and other things. And so it's okay to begin small. It's okay to say, I don't have to sit on a cushion for an hour today, but I can bring mindfulness into my life in other ways. Anything else that?
Is that video available online?
It is. You go to the Breath Project, the
Project.
Breath
Yes,
Project,
YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have, they follow it with just like a 2-minute meditation as well. So there are lots of ways to practice this. Any other noticings, or I always find it fascinating that they said 2/3 of all health-related problems are stress-related. And that's just seems phenomenal to me. But when we recognize what stress does to our brains and our bodies in terms of everything from inflammation to wreaking havoc on our digestive system and a variety of things, it's no wonder as stress increases that health issues also increase. But the nice thing about that is that, you know, if they cause things negatively, we can find ways.
As I always tell my patients, Chelsea, you know, it's the one thing you have readily available is
Yes,
your breath.
absolutely.
And sometimes the other methods, you really do have to maybe send them stop and really concentrate and focus and think, but not with your breath.
Yeah, it's always there.
It's always there.
And
It's
we can
yours.
learn to use it, and we'll do some breath practices before leaving today. I think the beauty of mindfulness is that it allows you to pause. And with that pause, it helps you create enough space between your thoughts. You know, you get a thought and you just react to it. That's what we often do. But it's taking that pause, creating that space, and then making a choice. And you still may choose to raise your voice to someone, or you still may choose to eat the cookie. But when it's a choice versus a reaction, then it empowers you. It does a whole lot of things for you. And so it's pausing and creating that space that I think can be really important. There's a long list of things that mindfulness and meditation can do for you. And you know, I don't think we need to go through the entire list, but I broke it up into things that support all the different parts of your brain. You know, your survival brain, your emotional brain, and your thinking brain can all be enhanced. And different types of, you know, seated meditation will do one thing. I absolutely believe that there are benefits for the mind and the spirit. I also know there are benefits for the body through practicing mindfulness. When I just taught a Qigong class, and then on my way out, one of the women in the class, she said, I just feel like I just had a massage. And it was all just through movement and being able to slow and settle and open your joints. I have really bad arthritis in my feet and in my hands, and I absolutely know that Qigong that I practice has made all the difference in me being able to walk with less discomfort. And so there are many, many things, but please don't expect to walk out of here today and then think all of these things. It is a practice. Mindfulness is a practice. And just like I wouldn't say, I'm going to brush my teeth for an hour on Sunday and give them a good go, you know, it doesn't really do the trick that way. You got to do a little bit every day after every meal, or you know, you're shooting the old basketball. You know, Michael Jordan went and shot every day thousands of times, and he got really good at that and embodied that. And it's the same with practice. I can do a little mindfulness, and it will always be a good thing. But unless it's something that I build into my life in little ways, it won't give you all of these wonderful benefits. The more you do, the more benefit you enhance. I came back to, just being present. That idea sounds so simple, but in reality, it's hard to do because we have a lot of things that are on our mind. That autopilot, everything from my health issues to all I have to do is turn on the news and I can feel my body tighten up, let alone talk to somebody about what's on the news. Any of those things, lots going on. And what I'd like to hear from you today, what are some of the things on your mind? What are the stressors, the things that are hard for you to be present in this moment? Anything?
My kids.
Yeah,
Kids?
me too.
Yep.
Never ending.
I had dozens of people die last year, and
I could feel the balloon up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Finances.
What fun. Like I forget people's names and sometimes faces, people I don't see often, and that it worries my family.
Yeah. All of the things, memory, cognition, and all of the things that go with just becoming an elder.
My son wants me to move closer to him. As I get older.
Yeah.
My husband and I have been married 52 years, and he is just a year older than me. But he has reached a plateau where he doesn't feel a need to do anything else. He's finished with travel, he's finished with this, he's okay with his life the way it is, and I'm not at that level, so we're kind of like trying to find some balance for us.
And we could go on and on. Everything from the traffic on the way here, or worrying about the airplane trip I'm taking, or what happens if I keep, it's either gonna pop, and I promise I will not make it today, or we just get to our breaking point and then we just lose control, sorry.
it's a train, it's a train balloon. It landed on the table.
Yes, it went right back to where we're supposed to do. So, what I like to think about mindfulness, we know things are going to go into our balloon. That's inevitable, it's natural, it would be weird if that didn't happen. But if all we do is keep filling our balloon, I keep putting things in, I have to find ways to let out a little bit at a time. Some days I need to let out more than others. Some years I need to let out more than others. But finding things throughout my lifetime that will allow me to not just fill my balloon, but to begin to let some of those stressors out. This is something that an activity I would do with my kids all the time. You can write anything you want, anxiety or stress or anything on your balloon, and when you add to it, it blows up. And so how do you pause enough to let air out of your balloon? It can be a nice visual. John Kabat-Zinn, who is a master mindfulness guru, talks about you can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. We know our balloon is going to get filled. We know that those waves are going to come every single day, and some of them are big and some of them are little. I can't stop that perhaps, but I can learn to surf. And sort of what I talked about earlier, I like to use the wave analogy. If I would tell you, I'm going to go to Hawaii, I want to learn to surf. And I'm going to go to Hawaii and I'm going to get on the biggest wave that I can find because I think that's really exciting. And I'm going to learn to surf. What do you think about that?
Well, let's start with the biggest wave. That's so safe.
You know, it's a crazy thing to think about, but a lot of times we do that, whether it's taking on mindfulness or taking on any other thing, we go right for the big stuff. And if I were doing this in a smart way, I'd start on the beach, and I'd be on that surfboard, just finding my balance on the beach. And then maybe I'd be on my belly, on the, you know, in the shallow water, and I might stay there a really long time. But I would practice, and I would have to do it over and over and over again until I got to the place where I was able to stand up and then be able to navigate the waves. And so mindfulness is really no different. You know, if I want to make this a practice that I'm going to live and make it really useful, I have to bring it into my life in a lot of ways, little ways, and taking a minute at a time, or just reminding myself to pause before I take the next bite of food, or whatever it might be. Thich Nhat Hanh again talks about breathing. I've already alluded to this, that it is the basic practice, and it's really the foundation for moving into mindfulness. This is a picture of Jill Bolte Taylor. She's a neuroscientist, and she's actually from Indiana. She wrote a book called My Stroke of Insight. Some of you may have seen. She's got a wonderful TED Talk if you get to, you know, if you're interested in that. But she was a neuroscientist and had a stroke, and so she was able to study her brain and her reaction to the stroke from the inside out, and really applied a lot of what she learned to understanding how our brains and neurosystems work, and how the stress response is there. And what she found in her research, so this is science-based, is that we can clean and clear our brains and bodies of those stress hormones, which occur naturally when we are in an activated state, in less than 30 seconds. Now, that won't necessarily happen automatically, but you can do it with a pause, doing something intentional to clean and clear that stress response out. And breathing and movement are two of the most efficient and powerful ways to clean and clear that. One thing that I'd like to mention or ask is, anyone here afraid of spiders? A little bit? Mice?
Snakes.
Snakes?
I don't want
snakes. What's your reaction when, immediately tighten up? Maybe you feel it. I like snakes, but you know, I had a coworker one time that if I had a student that would bring a snake to school, she would hide in the upstairs corner of the farthest classroom. She, you know, no matter, just knowing that was in the building. If you go to a scary movie, maybe a scary movie that you've seen 5 or 6 times, but every single time that person reaches out, what do? You startle in some way. Do you choose to do that?
Automatic.
It happens. Your stress response is unconscious. It's our natural way of protecting. We don't have time to stop and think about it. If I'm stepping out into the street and I see the truck coming my way, I don't have time to think, I wonder how fast he's going to get here, and if I would get hit by it. You know, your body takes over. Your thinking brain shuts down. Your survival brain goes into action. Cortisol and adrenaline go into your brain and your body, and you jump out of the way before thinking about it. You want that system to be online. You want that to be there because you want to be able to react when you need to get away from the bear in the woods or whatever it is that you're doing. But that system is meant to be temporary. It's not meant to be going all the time. And so when you're living in a home where it's chaotic and crazy, if you're a kid or a partner, if you're living with an aging parent, if you're an aging person, you know, your stress response is often activated, and it's not a choice. It happens, it's a survival mechanism, and it will continue to be activated until you do something to make it stop or slow down, until I let the stress response finish its cycle, or do I do something that balances. I can shut down the cortisol and adrenaline by breathing or moving and signal to my nervous system, this person has time to pause. Here's a list, there are lots of ways, this is not an exhaustive list at all, but it's 10 things that we know, research-based, and this is a combination, what I love about mindfulness is that it's a combination of ancient wisdom and modern science. I believe the ancient wisdom has lasted all this time because it comes from science. It's happening on a physiological level. It's not something, it's not really woo-woo, although a lot of people will claim that. So breathing and moving and having positive connection with people, having a good laugh or a good cry, all of these kinds of things will signal to your brain that I'm okay, I'm safe, I can shut down the cortisol and adrenaline. Maybe some of these will even give you a boost of oxytocin or dopamine or other kinds of things that are the feel-good hormones. And so the more that you can replace one with the other, the more oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin that you get, the less cortisol and adrenaline. It'll dampen the response. So it's really important to think about that. I like to think about our breath as a superpower. We talked about that automatic reaction to a stressful situation. That happens when I, in little bits, like when I opened my LG&E bill for, those months where we had the freezing weather. You get a little bit of that activation. So what is it that you're doing? I don't have control of those automatic unconscious responses. I can't say, stomach, hurry up and digest that salad I had for lunch. I can say that, but it's not going to do it. I can't tell my heart to stop beating so fast. The only part of my autonomic nervous system that I have control over is my breath. And so by using my breath, I can activate my nervous system. If I need to get away from that, that truck or that bear or whatever it is, I can breathe faster and bigger and heavier and send oxygen to my muscles and get away. Or I can slow my breath down and begin to send messages through my breath through my vagus nerve. We have a vagus nerve which sits at the base of our brain and goes out to most of the organs in our body. And there's communication from the organs back to the vagus nerve and from the vagus nerve down to the organs. And so when I take that slow, deep breath, my diaphragm contracts and expands, and it allows there are nerves on the base of the lungs that connect with the vagus nerve and sends up a signal to my brain that says, this person has time to rest, digest, they're pausing, they're safe. We don't need that cortisol and adrenaline. And these are just two examples, one from Thich Nhat Hanh about the power of the breath, and one from a medical doctor using meditation to calm the storms. So the science and the ancient wisdom and I think our personal experience all support the same thing. We'll play for just a minute. I'm going to give you permission to have the worst posture you've ever, my grandma, I used to, tell me, sit on the edge of your chair and have that good posture. For just a minute, I'm gonna ask you to slump over, take a breath. Try to take a big deep breath. And just notice how it feels. And then I'm gonna ask you just to sit up slowly, because you don't wanna pass out if you've been bent over. And then just sort of imagine you have a golden thread just lifting your head up just a little bit. Shoulders are soft. Chest is open. Now take that same deep breath in and out through your nose. And how is it different? Freer. Yeah. It was like it couldn't go anywhere when I was, yeah. And when we breathe, a normal everyday breath should be in and out through the nose. We bring it in through the nose. They call it often a belly breath, because if you bring it all the way down to the bottom of the lungs, first of all, just take a short breath and try to bring the breath to your lungs, just to the top of your lungs, just to the very top. This is how I see my mom breathing. She's very shallow at 94. She has a hard time taking a deep breath, and most of it is shallow. You don't get a lot of oxygen to your any place, when you're doing shallow breathing. Then take a slow, deep breath in through the nose, let it sink all the way down to the bottom. Just imagine your lungs pushing, your diaphragm works your lungs work your diaphragm. And if your diaphragm contracts, then it sort of pushes your belly out just a little bit. And then you exhale, the diaphragm again pushes the lungs up, the oxygen comes back out through your nose. And our regulated daily breath, in an ideal world, would be about 5.5 seconds. In and out through the nose. Most of us, if I check my breath at night, I'm probably breathing faster than that. But calm, slow, regulated breath in and out through the nose, using the belly, so that I'm really getting it down. Rather than when we sometimes panic, or you do those short little breaths and they don't go very far. When we want to take a calming breath, we can do a breath in through the nose and let it come all the way down to the belly for maybe 4 seconds, let's say, and then exhale through the mouth for 5, 6, 7 seconds. So try that calming breath just a couple times, breathing in and then exhaling through the mouth slowly and gently. Do that again. Breathing in. See if you can notice your belly expanding. And then slow exhale. That slow exhale is actually what signals your brain through your vagus nerve that this is a calming response, and allows your brain and body then to make different decisions. I forgot I was going to say something about that, and I lost my train of thought. When we're breathing in and out through the mouth all the time, there are lots of health issues that come from breathing in and out through the mouth. And there will be times where we just want to relax and settle in, and you want to do that exhale through the mouth, but making it an intentional thing and not just part of you know, the mouth breather syndrome. Well, we're going to do a practice. Are any of you familiar with the practice of a physiological sigh? If you can imagine, if you've had a good cry, like a sobbing cry, anytime that you can think about that, and oftentimes when we're doing that, what you find yourself naturally doing is going, you know, it's that calming effect. I just naturally take in those two kind of quick in-breaths, and then just that release when I really need to let it out. But we can do that on purpose, and it's a very effective method to relax and again, signal your nervous system. It's something we often do naturally during sleep to regulate our oxygen level and our CO2 level in the brain. So the first breath in, we'll just do 3 physiological sighs together. Breathe in twice. The first one's a little bit bigger, and then the second one is just a little bit of a sip of air, and then we'll exhale. So we'll breathe in. It's okay to make a sound if you want. On that exhale. Again, what I love about things like that are that your breath is with you all the time. So I can be in the checkout counter, standing in line at the Costco gas station. My Lord, the lines were out the wazoo. So, you know, just do a couple physiological sighs to just give myself the pause to say, okay, I can sit here for a few minutes. This is actually a treat. How often do I get just to sit and not have to do anything? I'm not going to get there any faster by worrying about it. But if I don't consciously and intentionally make that decision to do that, then, you know, I'm probably just going to fret the whole time I'm sitting in line. So taking those opportunities to use, and we won't go through the box breathing right now because I think we're shorter on time than I hope. But again, just they sometimes call them combat breaths. They teach Navy SEALs to do these techniques so that they have composure when they need to react, that they're in their thinking brain. We want to get our thinking brains back online, dampen our survival brain because it wants to take over all the time and just make us reactive. And so we have to use our breath to control that. I'm going to show you this little video. I'm just going to show you the one on the left. It's short, just a minute, and just watch. It repeats and tells you about that. That just makes me smile, which makes me feel good. But, you know, this isn't something that only adults do. This is something, well, what I believe and what I know is that this family practices that as part of what they do. This little boy helped and co-regulated with his younger sibling because he had learned the power of the breath in his own life, and was able to, you know, the little one was stressing over the video game not working or something like that, and so they were breathing. But he didn't learn this out of thin air. It was something that he saw his parents modeling and acting on and helping him do. And it's the same thing in our own lives. You know, if I'm doing this regularly, people around me are more likely to take that pause along with me if I'm doing those things, even inadvertently, if not consciously. And you can look up the Just Breathe video as well. It's online, and it's just a really nice demonstration of breath.
Where'd you find that
And
little boy
meditation.
video?
I think it was probably a TikTok thing. I've had it for
It's good. I like
lots
it.
of years.
Okay.
We used it in our teacher trainings a lot. And again, it just makes me smile, which then also lowers my, no, I'm going the wrong way. Okay. And to think about Thich Nhat Hanh again, true rest and peace are the natural result of conscious breathing in which body, breath, and mind come into unity. And I think that whole body point is so important. You know, we are not just our thinking brain. We are not just our physical body. We are really one whole unit, and each piece affects the others. And so, you know, if my physical health is really out of whack, it's going to wreak havoc on other things. And we tend to have a medical system that very much silos, you know, our health issues into one category, even within the physical. So realizing that it really is a whole person event, I think, is really important. We'll have just a moment. Breath and movement are, again, two of those powerful and efficient ways to release stress. Lots of ways to do mindful movement or to meditate. I have found that moving meditation is a really powerful tool for me, because your body is always in the present moment. And if I tune into my body, it really helps me let go of the monkey mind, of the all the things that are going on. And there are hundreds of ways to do mindful movement in Qigong and meditation, Qigong and Tai Chi. We'll do just maybe just a couple little things here. And what I'll tell you is that you can do all of this seated. We could do it standing, but we'll just sit in our chairs. If you're not comfortable moving, that is okay. You can visualize it, you can close your eyes and breathe. You can watch, and so however is comfortable for you. But we're going to just sit in our chair in a sort of comfortable posture. In the breath, in and out through the nose. You might put the tip of your tongue just on the roof of your mouth as if you were getting ready to say love or life. And this time as we breathe in, we're just going to lift our arms as if they're coming up on helium balloons at the wrist, just to the shoulders, and then gently lower them down as we exhale. We're going to breathe in. We rise on the inhale and release and soften on the exhale. You might imagine that you're in a pool of water and you're moving slowly, not to make any ripples at all. We're going to do the practice that the little boy was showing us in the video. We're going to bring the chi up to our heart. And then we're just going to let it down. They sometimes call this gravity breathing, but breathing in, we rise and open. Exhale, we release and soften. We'll just do one more. So Qigong can be, most people are familiar with Tai Chi, sort of that gentle flowing, moving movement where you sort of do a string of forms. Tai Chi is actually a form of Qigong. Qigong is about awareness and breath and slow, gentle movements to work and move the Qi. It's actually one of the 5 pillars of Asian Chinese medicine. So it comes from Chinese medicine versus Chinese martial arts. So it would be fun to do a lot of this, but we'll just give you a taste. And I will mention, tomorrow at 1 o'clock at the Earth and Spirit Center, we have a drop-in meditation and motion class. Goes from 1 to 2:30. You don't have to, you can register, but you don't have to register, you can just show up and practice. We do 24 postures Qigong, and once a month we just do a drop-in class. So you're welcome to come join us if you're so inclined, and I can tell you more about that later if you have an interest. I think there's a handout that you can see some of these. These are, again, just other ways to reset the nervous system, to slow yourself down. They're as simple as just doing an intentional yawn and a stretch. And then maybe just smoothing things out as you come back. You know, they don't have to be complicated movements. They're just, you know, and animals in nature do this naturally. And any of you who have cats, you know, you see that they stand up, and what's the first thing they do? They stretch. You know, they move and they open their fascia and their joints, and they just take that pause to get their body ready to do whatever it is that they're doing next. I think we're just about out of time. I'm gonna just skip through those for a minute and talk for just a second on, we have a built-in negativity bias. It comes from ancient caveman days where, you know, when you're roaming the forest and you see a berry, your first inclination better be, I wonder if that's safe to eat, rather than, oh, there's a pretty berry, how lovely, I'm gonna eat it, and then you get poisoned. So we have this built-in negativity bias, so that negative things sort of stick to us like Teflon, and positive things, stick to us like Velcro, and negative things, positive things slide off. You know, it's hard to keep them attached. So we have to really make a conscious effort of letting that go and watering the positive things. And so I'd like to talk about glimmers. And glimmers are just those micro moments of joy or beauty or wonder that happen all day long in our lives that often go unnoticed. And it might be, I'm looking at Sonny and she's got this beautiful smile. You've had a smile on your face, and it just, you know, noticing that and soaking it in. It might be, you know, really sitting and tasting the chocolate chip cookie that you had. Or it might be the image of a grandchild or your pet, or a cup of tea, you know, so pausing to think about a glimmer. Glimmers cue safety to the brain. When we stop long enough to notice those wonders in the world, it sends that signal, and you get dopamine and oxytocin. They're the opposite of triggers. You can probably put a list of things that activate your stress response. You know, something that triggers you. We often don't have that same list of the things that soothe and settle our nervous systems. And it would be a good things to do. They can be inside us or outside us. But the nice thing is that the more we notice them, there are hundreds of glimmers throughout the day, every day. And if we just stop to notice once an hour, 10 or 15 times a day, maybe, we would begin to build those neural pathways that the more you notice, the more you notice. And becoming that glimmer seeker really changes your brain, grows your brain. And so if you are so inclined, I have these little glimmers that I often strew about places or put in my pockets or whatever, and I'm going to pass them around. And feel free to take a glimmer. When you take a glimmer, as we're passing them, I'll invite you to get something in your mind, to really hold on to it for a moment. Maybe even close your eyes and savor it. Sit with it for a minute, notice it, describe it, appreciate it, whatever it is, and just take a couple breaths with it. It doesn't have to take a long time, so that it sort of implants it. And then sit with it if you can until it glows and settles in. I have another one of these, I'll pass you around. Let's see. But I know we started a little late, but I didn't really pay attention to, I'll pass these little glimmers around. You can take as many as you want or just pass them by. Any thoughts about anything we've talked about today or anything you wanted to mention or notice? We skipped over a lot and went through things fast, but
Is there one type of, I don't want to say it wrong, what's the Konoing?
Qigong.
Qigong, there we go. Is there one better for, I guess, as opposed to Tai Chi or maybe something else, just the mindfulness, better, for like lowering stress or, I would think movement would be good for everything, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You meet 100 Tai Chi Qigong practitioners, you'll find 100 ways to do it.
Yeah.
You can Google that, you'll find hundreds. I don't know that one is better than the other. We do a variety of things, but the core of what we teach at the Earth and Spirit Centers comes from the Village of Healing and Wellness out of Canada. It's the 24 therapeutic postures. And there are 24 separate postures, but they're really easy, generally easy to follow along, that really work you from the top of your head to your feet. And it has been a practice that has been, I don't want to say life-changing for me, but it truly has made a difference in the way that I live my life just by practicing that on a regular basis. That list of 10 things that can end the stress response, what I invite you to do is to explore any and all of these things, because some people come to a Qigong class and it's not in their comfort zone, and that is perfectly okay. If I try to paint and be creative, that's stressful for me. I'm not, but I have an aunt that every time we go stay with her, we always paint, and it's lovely because I get to sit with her, and she just finds it so settling, and that's how it should be. It's exploring what works for you and then being intentional about building it into your life in whatever way you can. Do we have time for a...
I'm fine.
Oh.
Yeah, if someone needs to go, please go right ahead. I'm happy to.
We'll do just a really short closing meditation.
Sounds good.
If that's okay with you.
Sure.
So I'm going to read first another thought from Thich Nhat Hanh, and he says, meditation is not meant to help us avoid problems or run away from difficulties. It's meant to allow positive healing to take place. To meditate is to learn how to stop. to stop being carried away by our worries about the future. By practicing the art of stopping, we can enter the present moment and be nourished by the beauty and wonder of life in and around us. The smell of flowers, the warmth of sunshine, the color of the sky. To practice mindfulness is to begin to realize that we have a choice: to stop and rest or run, to be angry or happy. Once we choose to stop, everything will be okay. I'll invite you just to settle into your chair, feet on the floor. Hands can be comfortably at your lap. And if you're comfortable, you can close your eyes or just lower them so that your gaze is soft. We're going to pause, take a moment just to clean and clear our brains and bodies of anything that isn't serving us. You might sit tall so that your heart is open, your body has room to breathe. You might notice your feet being drawn into the ground, or how the air hugs your skin. You might even offer yourself a hug in your mind's eye. Allow the breath to gently enter your nose and fall away down into your belly. It's easy to become overwhelmed by challenges and heartaches. It's okay to notice when you need to be soothed, when you need to take a pause, to take a moment to support and address it. And so just for a minute, we're going to focus on what else is true, the things that nourish us. Bring to mind whatever's helping you get through things right now. What are the things that nourish or soothe you? You might think of a warm sun on your face, or someone smiling at you, or a friend, or a pet, or a tree. Whatever it is that uplifts you, gives you courage, and what brings you peace or makes you smile. Just hold that in your heart. Savor it for a moment. And just know that it's always there for you to return to. We have the capacity to hold both challenges and joys. We can learn to pay attention and know that that's a strength. You can come back to your breath and notice as it moves naturally and deeply at its own pace. Your breath can be a resource. It's always there. So just notice the flow and the rhythm of your breath. And let your heart be cradled in that rhythm. And as we close, we'll take 3 collective breaths. The first breath is to nurture our own peace and well-being. As we breathe in and take a second breath, we breathe in for those around us, sitting here today, sharing this space, sharing our hearts. And on our third breath, we send our healing energy out into the larger world, sending our care and support and hope to those who need it. And you might lower your hands to the side and just gently begin to wiggle your toes. Maybe rock your feet back and forth, back and forth. And slowly open your eyes. It's a good time to yawn, stretch, and smile when you come out of a meditation to reorient yourself. And thank you for sharing this time with me. If there's anything that I can give you more information on or link you to, I'm happy to do that.
Are your slides available? Your slides?
I can
Email.
share. Here.
Is the drop-in at Earth Spirit, is it always on that particular day each month?
It's the fourth Thursday of the month at 1 o'clock, yeah.
So do you have to be the Wednesday drop-in, do you have to be at 1 o'clock, or
It's,
it
yes,
starts at 1? So
yeah. We
you just don't need to
teach a
register.
class, we have an ongoing 5-week class that people register for and have to do that ahead of time. But the fourth Thursday of the month, people can just show up and take the class,
Got it.
just to try it out and see if it's something that you like. Yeah. And it should be on the Earth and Spirit Center website as well.